What if I told you that Jar Jar Binks was secretly a Sith Lord, that Palpatine literally murdered Padmé to save Vader, and that your favorite droid has been playing 4D chess this whole time? Today we're diving into 12 of the wildest Star Wars fan theories that'll completely change how you watch these movies. Palpatine drained Padmé's life force to save Vader. Let's start with one that'll mess with your head. You know how Padmé dies in Revenge of the Sith from losing the will to live? Yeah, that medical diagnosis never sat right with anyone. Here's the theory. Emperor Palpatine secretly drained Padmé's life force to keep the dying Anakin alive. Think about it. Padmé was medically healthy, but dies at the exact same moment Darth Vader takes his first breath in that armor. The film literally cross-cuts between her death and his resurrection. This isn't just fan speculation anymore. The Rise of Skywalker proved that Sith can transfer life force between people. We literally see Palpatine drain Rey and Ben Solo's energy, so the concept exists in canon now. Plus, remember Palpatine's story about Darth Plagueis, the whole manipulating life forces to prevent death thing? What if he wasn't just telling Anakin a bedtime story? What if he was describing exactly what he planned to do? Even the actor Ian McDiarmid found this theory compelling when fans brought it up. And honestly, it gives Padmé a more dignified death than she was just really sad. The theory suggests Palpatine literally murdered her through Sith sorcery to complete Vader's transformation. Now, this isn't officially confirmed, but it explains way too much to ignore. Why else would a healthy woman die the instant her husband becomes a cyborg? Coincidence? In Star Wars? I don't think so. Anakin's lightsaber has consciousness. This theory might be the wildest. What if Anakin's blue lightsaber is actually semi-sentient and has been actively working to bring balance to the Force? In The Force Awakens, Maz Kanata says the lightsaber calls to Rey. But what if that's more literal than we thought? This theory, dubbed Skycalibur, suggests that because Anakin was the chosen one with an unparalleled Force connection, the lightsaber he forged became uniquely powerful and self-aware. Think about the lightsaber's journey. It gets passed from Anakin to Luke, then somehow ends up with Maz, then calls to Rey right when she needs it most to fight Kylo Ren, Anakin's own grandson who's fallen to the dark side. That's either incredible coincidence or deliberate action. The theory even suggests the lightsaber tried to guide Anakin away from darkness during his duel with Dooku in Revenge of the Sith, but Anakin ignored its influence and chose Palpatine's path instead. We know Kyber crystals are described as alive in a passive sense, and powerful Force users can leave imprints on objects. So maybe Anakin's decades of Force use, both light and dark, created an echo of his consciousness within the blade. Imagine a weapon that carries a fragment of its creator's soul, actively working to complete his destiny even after his fall. It's like Excalibur choosing its wielder, except this sword is trying to save the galaxy. There's no official confirmation of this theory, but Lucasfilm hasn't debunked it either. Until someone explicitly states otherwise, you can choose to believe that every time Rey ignited that lightsaber, she was wielding a piece of Anakin's redeemed spirit. Obi-Wan recognized R2-D2 in A New Hope. Here's one that's basically confirmed if you read between the lines. In A New Hope, Obi-Wan says he doesn't recall ever owning a droid when Luke asks about R2-D2. But notice his exact words. "I don't seem to recall ever owning a droid." That's technically true. R2 was never Obi-Wan's property. He belonged to Padmé and later Anakin. Obi-Wan's being very careful with his language, just like when he told Luke that Vader killed his father from a certain point of view. The official novelization even adds a scene where Obi-Wan calls R2 old friend when they're alone on the Millennium Falcon. Plus, think about it logically. Why would Obi-Wan forget the droid who saved his life dozens of times during the Clone Wars? This theory suggests Obi-Wan absolutely recognized R2, but stayed quiet to protect Luke from learning too much about his father's past too quickly. It's classic Ben Kenobi, being truthful while withholding the full story until the right moment. By the way, if you're enjoying these wild Star Wars theories, hitting like and subscribing helps us keep exploring the galaxy's deepest mysteries. Alright, back to the theories. Ewoks ate the Stormtroopers. This one's as dark as it is hilarious. At the end of Return of the Jedi, we see Ewoks using Stormtrooper helmets as drums during their celebration. But where exactly are the Stormtroopers who are wearing those helmets? Earlier in the film, the Ewoks literally tried to roast Han, Luke, and Chewbacca for dinner. C-3PO even mentions that humanoid flesh is a delicacy to them. So when the battle's over and the Ewoks are partying with empty Imperial helmets, well, you do the math. This theory is actually supported by official material. A non-canon story called Apocalypse Indoor shows surviving stormtroopers being terrified by Ewoks who are laying traps and hunting them down. Even Legends material explicitly states that stormtroopers fell victim to Ewok culinary plans. So yeah, those cute teddy bears probably had themselves a nice Imperial barbecue after the Death Star exploded. It's morbid, but it makes perfect sense given what we know about Ewok culture. Obi-Wan left Anakin alive because of the prophecy. Here's a question that haunts every Revenge of the Sith rewatch. Why didn't Obi-Wan finish off Anakin on Mustafar? He just walks away while Anakin's burning alive. The theory suggests Obi-Wan couldn't bring himself to kill the Chosen One, even after everything. Remember, he literally shouts, "You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them." That's not just anger, that's heartbreak over a failed prophecy. Maybe somewhere deep down, Obi-Wan still believed Anakin would eventually fulfill his destiny. And guess what? He was right. Decades later, Vader does destroy the Sith by killing Palpatine. By sparing Anakin's life, Obi-Wan accidentally ensured the prophecy could still come true. Now, the Kenobi series suggests Obi-Wan was shocked Vader survived, which kind of undermines this theory, but from a mythological standpoint it makes sense. A Jedi Master couldn't bring himself to execute the Chosen One, even a fallen one. Whether it was conscious faith in the prophecy, or just an inability to kill the boy he raised, Obi-Wan's mercy ultimately saved the galaxy. Sometimes, the most important decisions are the ones we can't bring ourselves to make.
Boba Fett killed Luke's parents. This theory used to be really popular, but it's been officially debunked. The idea was that Boba Fett, not stormtroopers, killed Owen and Beru Lars. The evidence seems solid. Owen and Beru were burned beyond recognition. And in Empire Strikes Back, Vader specifically tells Boba, "No disintegrations," implying Fett had a history of vaporizing targets. But Lucasfilm killed this theory in 2017 with a short story called Added Muscle, told from Boba's perspective. In it, Fett arrives at the Lars homestead after the deed is done, finds the sizzled Hicks already dead, and deduces Luke escaped. So, sorry Boba fans, the Empire Stormtroopers were responsible for that particular war crime, not our favorite bounty hunter. The Force reshapes time. Here's a trippy one that tries to solve a major plot hole. How did Luke become Jedi-level competent after just a few days of training with Yoda on Dagobah? The theory suggests that Dagobah, being strong with the Force, actually warped time around Luke's training. From his perspective, he might have spent weeks or months learning, while only days passed in the rest of the galaxy. It's not that crazy when you think about it. We've seen time weirdness in Star Wars before. The world between worlds in Rebels literally has time portals. And Luke does sense something's not right about Dagobah when he arrives. Imagine if Yoda, in his incredible wisdom and power, bent time itself to give Luke the training he needed. For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Takes on a whole new meaning if he's literally manipulating time. This theory hasn't been confirmed or debunked. It's just a clever fan explanation for how Luke got good so fast. And honestly, it makes the mystical aspects of Star Wars even more mysterious. Darth Jar Jar. Oh, you thought I was kidding about this one? The Darth Jar Jar theory is probably the most famous Star Wars fan theory ever. And honestly, it's way more convincing than it should be. This whole thing started with a detailed Reddit post in 2015 that compiled evidence that Jar Jar's clumsiness was actually a carefully orchestrated act. Think about it. His combat skills in the Battle of Naboo look suspiciously like drunken kung fu mastery. Plus, George Lucas literally said Jar Jar's the key to all this. Key to what, exactly? The theory goes that Lucas originally planned to reveal Jar Jar as the secret Sith manipulating everything, but fan backlash was so intense that he chickened out and created Count Dooku as a replacement villain instead. And here's the kicker, Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar, actually acknowledged that a lot of the theory was true. He said Lucas had bigger plans for the character that got scrapped because of the poor reception.
There was even a cut scene where Palpatine confided in Jar Jar during the Empire's rise. Now, is Jar Jar actually a Sith Lord? Probably not. But was he supposed to have a much bigger, possibly villainous role? The evidence is pretty compelling.
Shmi's death was orchestrated by Palpatine. What if Anakin's mother dying wasn't random bad luck, but part of Palpatine's master plan? This theory suggests that Darth Sidious orchestrated Shmi Skywalker's kidnapping and death to push Anakin toward the dark side. Think about the timing. Anakin arrives on Tatooine just in time to find his mother tortured to death by Tusken Raiders, triggering his first real fall to darkness when he massacres the entire village. That's awfully convenient for someone trying to corrupt a young Jedi. Here's the smoking gun. In an early draft of Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine explicitly tells Anakin that he was responsible for the Sand People's actions, and even claims he killed Shmi. George Lucas actually considered making this canon. But in the final film, that revelation was cut. There's no official evidence that Palpatine arranged Shmi's death. It remains in the realm of fan speculation, albeit with some interesting behind-the-scenes support. Still, for a Sith Lord who spent decades manipulating galactic events, arranging one strategic tragedy wouldn't be out of character. Chewbacca and R2-D2 are rebel agents.
This theory is absolutely bonkers, and I kind of love it. What if Chewbacca and R2-D2 were secret rebel operatives all along, quietly coordinating to ensure the rebellion's success? Think about it. Chewbacca fought alongside Yoda during the Clone Wars. R2-D2 kept all his memories while C-3PO got wiped. What if Bail Organa deliberately left R2's memory intact because he recruited him as a spy? The theory suggests R2 carrying the Death Star plans and finding Obi-Wan wasn't luck. It was his mission from Leia all along. And Chewbacca? Maybe Yoda asked him to keep tabs on Luke through his connection with smugglers like Han Solo. It would explain why these two always seem to know exactly what to do. R2 constantly saves the day with perfect timing, and Chewie's the first being Obi-Wan talks to in the Mos Eisley Cantina, like he already knew Chewie was an ally. The theory even suggests Chewie losing to R2 at holochess was so they could plan in private. It's completely ridiculous, but it fits surprisingly well.
Force ghosts have unlimited power.
Why don't Force ghosts just solve all the galaxy's problems themselves? This theory has an elegant answer. They can do anything, but they're bound by the Force's will. Think about what we've seen. Yoda's ghost summons lightning to burn down a tree in The Last Jedi. Luke's ghost lifts his X-Wing out of the water in Rise of Skywalker. These aren't parlor tricks, these are massive displays of power. The theory suggests that Force ghosts, being one with the cosmic force, have essentially unlimited abilities. But they can only act when it serves the larger balance of the Force. They're not playing by their own rules anymore, they're playing by the universe's rules. It explains why Obi-Wan doesn't just force lightning the Emperor himself. It's not that he can't, it's that doing so would violate the natural order. Luke had to face that trial, not his ghostly mentor. Imagine having godlike power but only being allowed to use it at very specific moments. That's both incredibly powerful and incredibly frustrating. It makes Force ghosts even more mysterious and wise.
Padmé sacrificed herself to save her children.
Here's an alternative to that Palpatine theory from earlier. What if Padmé didn't die because she lost the will to live, but because she consciously gave her life to protect Luke and Leia? When Anakin force-choked her on Mustafar, it endangered the highly force-sensitive twins she was carrying. This theory suggests that Padmé, through maternal love and maybe an unconscious force connection, transferred all her life energy to ensure her children survived birth. It's a much more dignified explanation than dying of sadness. Instead of being a victim of heartbreak, Padmé becomes a hero who made the ultimate sacrifice. And it mirrors how Leia later gives her life to reach Ben Solo in Rise of Skywalker. The medical droid says she lost the will to live, but maybe it just couldn't understand the mystical nature of what really happened. The Force works in mysterious ways, and a mother's love is one of the most powerful forces in any universe. This theory hasn't been confirmed, but it gives Padmé agency in her final moments, instead of making her a passive victim of Anakin's choices. So there you have it, 12 wild Star Wars theories that range from officially debunked to surprisingly plausible. Some are darker than a Sith Lord's heart, others are more mystical than Yoda's backward speech patterns. Which theory convinced you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed diving into the galaxy's greatest mysteries, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into your favorite franchises. May the theories be with you.